Travel club accused of cheating customers. Rim Ski-yoon speaks out against political reform proposal by pan-Democrats. And uproar in Britain over death inquest verdict.
Good evening. The Consumer Council has accused a travel club of malpractice. The watchdog says Carefree Travel failed to offer free hotel stays to its members as promised. As Evelyn Leung reports, some of the cases have already been passed on to the police and the Customs and Excise Department for further investigation.
The travel club in question is known as Carefree Travel. Its Lai Chi Kah office was closed today. A notice on its door said the company was undergoing restructuring. According to the Consumer Council, members mainly signed up through telephone sales. With a one-year membership fee of $2,388, members are entitled to 2 nights of free stay in a superior room in an international chain hotel in Macau, as well as buffet meals. However, when members tried to claim their free stays, they were told there were no available rooms and were persuaded to pay extra for an upgrade or rooms in another hotel.
But upon checking with the hotel directly by some complainants, it was found that the hotel was in fact not fully booked.
Some members asked for a refund from Carefree Travel but failed to get a response. They then complained to the Consumer Council. A total of 75 complaints were filed, involving more than $160,000. But so far, only 12 cases have been settled, and the council claimed it has now failed to get in touch with the company. The consumer watchdog also said it will be difficult for those who signed up before the implementation of the amended Trade Descriptions Ordinance last July to seek compensation.
Unless consumers could prove that these are some frauds of the club membership company, the only means would be to settle through continuous negotiation, if unsuccessful, through the Small Claims Tribunal.
And the cases that involve members who signed up after the amended ordinance came into effect have been passed on to the police and the Customs and Excise Department. The Travel Industry Council also says it has received inquiries from Carefree Travel members. But the council said it's difficult to follow up on them because Carefree Travel is not a travel agency and not one of its members. The Consumer Council has advised consumers to avoid signing up for club memberships or make any agreements through the telephone because without a written agreement, it can be difficult for consumers to provide evidence to seek legal redress. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Secretary for Justice Rim Ski-yoon warned today any move to weaken the power of the nominating committee in the 2017 chief executive election may violate the Basic Law. That's in response to a political reform proposal put forward by the Alliance for True Democracy yesterday. Joao de Silva has more.
The three-track system proposed by the Alliance for True Democracy involves chief executive candidates nominated by the public or by political parties and then endorsed by the nominating committee. Secretary for Justice Rim Ski-yoon questioned today if that means the nominating committee actually has a say in who the candidates are. He warns that if the committee is expected to approve the nominations as long as the candidates have enough public support, that could go against the Basic Law because it effectively weakens the power of the committee. The publicity director of the central government's liaison office, Hao Tie-chuan, also waded in. He said any plan that bypasses or weakens the authority of the nominating committee would be against the spirit of Hong Kong's mini-constitution. The pro-establishment camp calls for clarification by the government. Industrial sector lawmaker Lam Tai-fai is disappointed that the administration has not spelt out the authority of the nominating committee or clarified what is or isn't against the Basic Law. The Democratic Party, which is part of the Alliance for True Democracy, expressed flexibility in the three-track proposal. Party chairwoman Emily Lau made clear what they want is a truly competitive election in which people with different political views have a say in the nominations. What they don't want is candidates being excluded for certain preconditions, such as the requirement to love Hong Kong and the motherland. João da Silva, TVB News.
A clean-up operation is underway at a Sham Shui Po market where Hong Kong's third H7N9 bird flu patient might have walked by. And Secretary for Food and Health, Ko Wing-man, warns more cases are likely. Jenny Lam reports.
A big clean-up at Peiho Street Market in Sham Shui Po this morning after health officials reported Hong Kong's third H7N9 bird flu case last night. The 65-year-old patient is being treated at Queen Mary Hospital. As the virus has been linked to live poultry stalls, health inspectors reminded shop owners to keep their premises clean. The latest patient had travelled to Shenzhen last week and passed by a wet market there. Health officials also said he might have walked past the entrance of Peiho Street Market but did not go inside. But authorities are not taking any chances. They took samples here to test for the avian flu virus. Poultry shopkeepers at the market are not happy that their stalls might be blamed. The infection comes from outside Hong Kong, this man insists. Secretary for Food and Health, Ko Wing-man, has not ruled out more cases of the H7N9 appearing, especially among people who have visited the mainland. Import of live poultry from Shenzhen has already been suspended and it is not expected to resume anytime soon. Ko reminds visitors to the mainland to avoid coming into contact with poultry. He also pointed out the environment in and around wet markets there tend to be filthy and that could put visitors at risk. Civic Party lawmaker Kwok Ka-ki, though, believes banning poultry import from Shenzhen is not enough. He is going to meet with the health chief soon to ask for a ban on live poultry import from the mainland by Lunar New Year. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Meanwhile, a fatal case of H5N1 bird flu has been reported in Canada. It's the first ever case in North America.
This is an isolated case. The individual began to feel unwell on a return flight from Beijing to Vancouver on December the 27th, 2013. The symptoms worsened and the individual was hospitalized and passed away on January the 3rd.
Doctors haven't determined how the victim contracted the virus. Officials say the victim only visited Beijing while in China and did not travel to a farm or visit markets. The World Health Organization says as of mid-December, there were 648 confirmed human cases of H5N1 bird flu, most of them in Asia. More than half of those infections have been fatal.
Inflation on the mainland grew 2.6% for the whole of 2013. That's less than the full-year target of 3.5%, which was set by the central government earlier last year. December's Consumer Price Index, a main gauge of inflation, grew 2.5%, half percentage points lower than November. Food prices, which account for roughly one-third of CPI, rose 4.1% last month compared with the same period in 2012. Prices of non-food products edged up 1.7%. Still, December's figure for food was lower than the 5.9% recorded in November.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today headed to Oman before going to Africa on a week-long mission to boost the country's profile. The unofficial backdrop of the whirlwind tour is China's rise and the relative decline of a once ascendant Japan before 20 years of economic stagnation. Japan is a major aid donor to Africa, but China's investment in trade has powered the continent's economic growth over the past decade. In Oman, Abe is expected to offer help to improve resource development and cooperation on anti-piracy measures. He also hopes to secure supplies of crude oil and natural gas. In Africa, he'll give a speech at the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia about Japanese assistance to the region. He'll also meet with the leaders of the Ivory Coast and Mozambique.
Thousands of protesters have marched through the streets of Bangkok again, vowing to topple the government of caretaker Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. Today's march was the latest in a series of warm-up rallies aimed at garnering more support for a mass demonstration next Monday. On that day, the protesters plan to bring the city to a halt by blocking off 20 key intersections in central Bangkok. The opposition-led movement accuses Yingluck of acting as a proxy for her brother, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. In London, an inquest jury largely vindicated police in a controversial and fatal shooting that set off some of the worst rioting in the UK in decades. The jury found that the officers acted lawfully when they shot and killed gang member Mark Duggan more than 2 years ago. Alan Buckner reports.
The jury found that the 29-year-old mixed-race father of two did not have a gun when he was shot trying to flee from police, although one was found a few meters away from his body. The incident on August 4, 2011, set off a wave of rioting over the shooting and the police response to the killing. Duggan's family wasn't properly notified by police, and press briefings led journalists to wrongly believe that Duggan had shot at the officers before being killed. After allegations of foot-dragging and cover-up by police, the inquest finally got underway last September. After hearing from more than 100 witnesses, the jury determined that Duggan was unarmed when he was shot, but threw the gun away as he fled, and police believed he was armed. The verdict outraged Duggan's family, who insisted justice had not been done.
The majority of people in this country know that Mark was executed. He was executed, and we still believe that. And we're going to fight until we have no breath in our body for justice, for Mark, for his children, and for all of those of the deaths in custody that have had nothing for, nothing. We are not giving up. No justice, no peace.
The police were greeted by an angry crowd as a spokesman acknowledged trust in the force had been eroded.
We know this trust is not shared by everyone. I will be offering to meet Mark Duggan's family to express our sorrow, and we will continue working with local communities to strengthen relationships. That will take time.
Inquests in Britain investigate violent or unexplained deaths, but do not rule on guilt or innocence. There is some concern that this finding may set off another string of rioting. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
And when we get back on the news tonight, Arctic blast eases its grip on the United States. Locally, big budget surplus tip for this financial year. And Manchester City posts impressive win in the League Cup.